Well, I have reached a big milestone for PC Engine power. It is the 2 to the 8th binary-versary. Around these parts, we don't celebrate the hundreds rolling over. The big moments are when we add a binary digit, especially 2 to the 8th. There's a whole byte worth of episodes out there now. And to celebrate this milestone, I have Eldis, a game where I badly misremembered its reputation. I recalled Eldis being one of the most reviled shoot-'em-ups on the PC Engine, and so when I started playing it, I was pleasantly surprised, because it's actually good. Now, it is wickedly difficult, incredibly punishing, and will require a bit of experimentation before you can make any kind of progress, but it's not a stinker. The plot of the game is that Ta-chan and Yu-chan are best friends, and they like doodling things in chalk. One day while they're doodling, a hole in the sky opens up, and a monster comes from it to kidnap Yu-chan. As it turns out, the hole in the sky was created when Yu-chan wet the bed during a nightmare, and that monster was also born from the urine. I did not make any of that up. The voice acting in Eldis is especially high quality. This is one of those cases where they got a bunch of the most recognizable voices in Japan, and throughout the game they're often parodying their own roles. The big exception to this is the actor that they chose for Takun, the main character. He was played by somebody who was still doing sidekick roles at the time, although later on they would play a pirate in 1,000 episodes of a TV show, so they got steady work for a few decades. Eldis consists of 6 stages, and they are incredibly long stages. Many of them are divided into portions where you defeat a mini-boss, and then the level transitions to a new environment. So even though it's only 6 levels long, there's about 40 minutes of shooting here. You have an important choice to make before you even reach the first stage, though. What weapon pack are you going to use? This was my biggest hang-up while I was playing Eldis, because you don't get a lot of context here. You can make a general guess at what will be available for you, depending on which selection you make, but it's a bit more complicated than that. Each of these 3 options determines what set of attacks the pods that you'll get will use. As a broad rule of thumb, set A is the easiest to use, while set C gives you the most flexibility. All 3 sets have a red pod that fires some kind of bullet, a green pod that will fire bombs, and a blue pod that has a strong shot. The blue pod attacks are the most complicated to explain. While Type A is just a laser wave that fires straight forward, for Type B, the blue pod shoots in the direction that you're moving, and for Type C, there's a burst of lasers that come out the back of your craft and then turn around to fly forward. Power-ups are dropped by enemies that look like sacks with wings, and the power-up system is a bit inconvenient, especially if you don't speak Japanese. There's 3 different types of pickups that will be dropped, and then those rotate through different options, and all of this is displayed in Japanese text. The red block alternates between power and speed. Speed is simple enough, it makes you go faster, while power increases your ship's main gun. First you get more bullets, then it becomes a big wave, and eventually your ship will launch its own bombs at an angle. The yellow bordered pickup alternates between bomb and barrier. Barrier will act as a shield absorbing 1 hit, and it can be stacked multiple times. The bomb will follow along behind your ship and can be dropped by pressing button 1. It'll fall for a few seconds and then explode, killing all of the enemies on the screen. Finally, the blue outline pickups are the pods, and these rotate between multi for the reds, bitoru for the green, and hyper for the blue. For what it's worth, no dictionary I've consulted can figure out what they meant by bitoru. The best guess is that it's beetle, but they were doing something funky with the lettering there. Collecting a weapon pod is first in, first out. You can have up to 2 of them, and when you collect the 3rd, then the first pod that you collected goes away, and if you collect a 4th, the 2nd. The pods have one more function beyond shooting things. They do damage anytime somebody touches them, so they'll block bullets and even hurt enemies that are coming in to collide with you. They always trail behind you, which makes it straightforward to use them as a shield. Just back away from that direction for a moment. Button 2 fires your main gun, and there is a very strong auto-fire in this game, so you won't need to use those auto-fire switches on your PC Engine controller. Eldis is one of those games where it's possible to collide with terrain, and it's not always clear what is terrain and what isn't. You'll need to watch out for your weapons hitting things to know what you could run into. Well, except for your blue shots. Those go through everything. As you might have noticed from the visuals, Eldis is a comedy and a cute-em-up. So you'll have moments like this clam mini-boss showing up and facing the wrong direction, or a weird version of the space battleship Yamato announcing how it's charging its main gun to fire at you. And like most cute-em-ups, Eldis is really hard. For some reason, when shoot-em-up makers decide to make games cute, they think it's funny to contrast that with some of the most difficult gameplay they can come up with. Now, in the case of Eldis, it's not really that bad. I mean, any given moment here doesn't look horrible. But like I said, these are very long stages, and all it takes is one mistake. If you have pods, they'll be reduced to power-ups if you get hit, and it could be possible to recollect them as you revive. But you lose all of your gun and speed power-ups. Those you'll have to rebuild from scratch. If you run out of lives and have to continue, then you go back to the start of the stage. And like I mentioned, stages are almost 10 minutes long. I noticed a bit of an odd distribution for the power-ups while I was playing. Stage 1 had almost no pods, but you could get some speed and gun power, plus add a barrier. And then on Stage 2, it was pretty much all pods, and none of the other power-ups. It made the gameplay feel very lopsided. Japanese players generally like Eldis, especially the presentation, but there's one thing that pretty much all of them say. The game is almost impossible to beat. My own opinion on Eldis is it's pretty good. Maybe its biggest weakness is that it's on the PC Engine where there's too many great shoot-em-ups. So Eldis doesn't stand out as much. The thing that prevents me from calling it a great game is that I just don't care for the power-up system. The different loadouts for the pods, the iconography for the power-ups, and the way that the game makes it a little bit difficult to experiment with different weaponry, those are the things that I think Eldis falls short on. But it's still good, just not as good as it could be.